So our speaker today is Ryan Gregerson, and when Mary Pearson, our dean, was first spoke to me about Ryan, she was just exceptionally positive about the kind of person he was. She was so positive that I was immediately super suspicious. I thought there's no way somebody can be that cool and that interesting. And as I've gotten to know Ryan a little bit, the one thing that I can say without reservation is that he is who he seems to be. There's no pretense in him at all. He's 100% genuine. The other thing that I've observed about Ryan is that people who know him will uniformly say he's a really good guy. And they also often smile whenever they hear his name. And they're all smiling.
Yeah, I can see it.
Well concealed, but they're
yeah.
Ryan went to SUU. He graduated from the School of Business. He is, his wife Erin is here. They have 4 kids. He's a coach. He's been an entrepreneur for over 20 years. We are very pleased to have with us today Ryan Gregerson.
So Mr. Stillman was really dismayed when he met me after Mary talked me up. And you guys will be dismayed after 40 minutes of hearing me talk. But yeah, I was born here in Cedar City. In fact, I went to South Elementary. Did anyone here go to South Elementary? Oh, we got one kid, a couple kids went here to South. Yeah, that school has been around here for a long time. I also went to Cedar Middle School. Now, it's not the Cedar Middle School up on the hill. It's the parking lot over here by the pickleball courts. Does anyone remember the Cedar Middle School over there? Like one person, Mary Pearson raises her hand. That's how old I am. So my kids, guess what they call me? Does anyone know what they call me? They call me a boomer. And I didn't know what it was. I was at soccer practice and kids kept on calling me boomer. I thought, gosh, that's a cool name. And then they explained it to me. So I just accept, I am a boomer. But after that, I went to Cedar High School, and it was called the Redmen back now it's called the Reds. And then I went to University of Utah for 1 year and finished up here at SUU. And I have my degree in business. I have 4 children, like he said. I have 2 daughters and 2 boys. And one boy is going to school here right now. He's a freshman. A lot of you might know him. If you don't know him, get to know him. He's a great kid. But I own a company called American Sleep Dentistry. So American Sleep Dentistry is a medical device manufacturing company. And what we do is, with a medical device manufacturing company, we have 3 different companies under there. One is a medical device manufacturing company, the other one is a software development company, and the other one is a marketing company. So the medical device manufacturer company is what we'll do is we'll take a product and we'll see a need out there in public in medical devices. We'll say, how can we solve that problem? And then we get together with our mechanical engineers and we start doing different prototypes of products to solve that problem. This right here is a product. In fact, if I had it, it's about this big. It's very microscopic, goes in the mouth. And part of it, there's like 20 different screws, 20 different parts in there, very microscopic. But we'll go out there and make many different prototypes and try them on patients. And once we settle on a product that actually works, then we do the design specifications and send it to our manufacturers. And they make the product for us based off of our design specifications. And then from there, we actually have 7 FDA cleared appliances. And that takes a long time because once you have the product, you're not done. Now you have to fill out a form and type up about 500 to 1,000 pages. And then you submit that to the FDA. FDA stands for Federal Drug Administration. And once you submit that to the FDA, you just sit back and wait. And you wait. And you wait. A year goes by and they respond and say, hey, we need more information. So what we do is we send them more information. And then we wait all over again. And about 3 years later, you get an FDA clearance. It takes that long. And we've done that 7 different times. So, first of all, we're a medical device manufacturer. The next thing we are is we are a software development company. I learned a long time ago that software streamlines a business. And since 20 years ago when I started my business, I've spent tons and tons of money on developing software to streamline my business, to give me the competitive advantage. I have 7 full-time programmers. They write in Java. And what we do is, so for instance, we'll advertise on Facebook someone will provide their name, email, phone number, hit submit, and it'll go into our software. And once it's in our software, we'll call that person back within minutes. Not only that, it handles our inbound, our outbound, handles our text, it handles our faxes, our emails, everything is handled within the software. Not only does it do that, we've created our telehealth software. Jesse will attest to that, right, Jesse? Jesse's seen it in action. And what that allows us to do is connect with our patients throughout the nation to one of our dentists here in Cedar City. So our software really makes a difference in us. Lastly, we're an advertising company. That's probably the most important thing I do on a daily basis. Why? Because if you control your customers, you control your business. And so we advertise every year. Last year we spent over $1 million on advertising. And we advertise on Facebook, Google AdWords, Instagram, a lot of news sites, from Fox News to MSNBC. We do tons of advertising. In fact, I think, and I'm going to sound a little cocky here, that I know more about advertising than anyone in the state of Utah. When it comes to digital, when it comes to print, when it comes to video, I don't know anything. I'm an idiot. But I've specialized in digital marketing. So that is our company. So through the years, I've started many, many successful companies. But at the same time, I've started many, many failures. And because I've been through this process, I've learned many different business skills. And I want to share these skills with you guys, these different principles I've learned. So maybe you don't have to learn the hard way like I have done. So next, who here, we're in this class, right? What is it called? I don't even know what it's called. Entrepreneurship. You'd assume you're in here to start a business. Who here wants to own their own business and run it? Raise your hand. A little higher. Remember, I'm a boomer. Okay, so I need one person to tell me what kind of business they want to run. One person. Who's bold enough? There we go.
Well, I mean, I already run a gentleman's lifestyle business in e-commerce.
So he wants to do gentleman's lifestyle business via e-commerce, right? So here's my next question. Everyone here raised their hand that they want to do a business. Almost everyone. I'd say predominantly, right? Now here's the next question. Who here is currently running a business? And I could care less if it's mowing lawns, babysitting, anything. Who here is running a business? Let's raise your hand. I won't pick on someone else. That lady right there.
I do events.
You do events. What does that entail?
Flowers, photos, linens.
So you do events, you sell flowers, everything like that. My question is, what type of principles have you learned by running this business?
There's so many, I don't even know where to start. But I would just say your customer matters. That's the first thing that comes to mind. Customers, everything. That's the number one principle.
So what was your question? What was your name, I mean, by the way?
Haley.
What was it?
Haley.
So Haley says that she's learned, Haley? Kaylee, sorry about that. Once again, what am I? A boomer. Okay, so Kaylee said to me, she says, I've learned a lot of principles. I cannot name them all. And one of them she said is the customer's always right. I always hate hearing that. But yeah, they're somewhat right. A lot of times they're wrong. But you don't argue with them, right? Kaylee, you're right, you're right. But in the back of your mind, you're saying, you know, you're kind of wrong here. But Kaylee, has done something more than most of you have not done. All of you wanted to start a business, but Kaylee has started this process of tackling this business learning curve. And it doesn't happen, this business learning curve does not happen when you graduate from college. It happens today. And she is farther ahead than all of you guys, most of you guys, because you have not started it. In fact, a lot of the business principles that I use today, I started and learned when I was in 7th grade. 7th grade was my first business. What on earth could I learn in 7th grade? Well, in 7th grade, I wanted to buy a Super Nintendo. And because it came out with this cool new game called, what do you think the game was called? Well, someone just said it, where? Mario. Super Mario Brothers. Once again, what am I? A boomer. We're going to ask this a few more times. So Super Mario Brothers came out, and I was so excited to get this. And Mary Pearson could probably remember this. No one had it, and I wanted it. And it was $200. And how was I going to earn $200? And I came up with this great plan. I went to my mom. I said, Mom, I want to buy a Super Nintendo. She goes, okay, great. I'll give you a chore list. Here's the things you can do. First of all, you can go sweep the garage, sweep the front porch for 50 cents. You can go vacuum upstairs for 50 cents. You can mow the lawns for 50 cents. You can wash the cars for 50 cents. It didn't matter what I did. If it took 10 minutes or an hour, it was 50 cents. I said, oh, okay, I'll do that. So I set out to earn the Super Nintendo, and I was doing all these chores for 50 cents. And a week later, I thought, I'm getting nowhere here. I've got to earn $200. How long is it going to take me sweeping these porches to earn the Super Nintendo? And that's when I came up with this brilliant idea. Everyone loves Snickers, right? Do you guys like Snickers? Everyone's like, yeah. Everyone loves Snickers, right? They sell them at the gas station. They sell them at the grocery store. Everyone loves Snickers. So I said, what I'll do is I'll go to my next door neighbor, Lorito, Mr. Lorito. We called him the gut truck. And I'll buy the candy from the gut truck. I don't know why they called it the gut, because I think everything he sold went to the gut, right? So I went and bought a case of Snickers from him. And I thought, I'll go to middle school, that one over here, the parking lot. And I'll open up during my breaks and lunch, I'll open up my locker and sell Snickers. My wife's a little bit behind here. And one more. There we go, there's the locker. So I'll go to the school and sell Snickers. So I remember going to schools with this case of Snickers, and I was sitting in class, and it was getting closer and closer, and my heart was just a-pumping. What are my friends going to think of me? Is someone going to buy? It didn't matter. Why? Because I just spent all that money on those Snickers. Well, I went up there, opened up my locker, and I pulled out a Snicker bar and said 50 cents. 50 cents, buy a Snicker bar for 50 cents. And all my buddies came up to me and said, hey, I'll give you 15 cents. Hey, I'll give you 25 cents. Well, I wasn't making any money. And after that break, I had sold no Snickers. And so the next recess came, and same thing happened. I didn't sell anything. But I was determined to continue to try to sell. I went back to lunch and did the same thing. I spent the whole lunch hour trying to sell these Snickers. And at the end of the day, wasting my 3 recesses and my lunch, I sold 1 Snickers. Well, I went home dejected. And I said to myself, that was stupid. I could sweep the garage quicker than that. What am I going to do? And I was dejected, and I thought at night. And that's when I came up with a game plan. I'm going to ask you guys a question here. What was wrong with my business plan there? What was wrong? Anyone? Go ahead.
You didn't really listen to what the customers were saying.
Yeah, he said, I didn't really listen to what the customers were saying, right? I did not understand my demographics, right? Yeah. I didn't understand my product offering. That night, I sat home and thought about that, and I came to the conclusion what he came up with. My customers don't want the product. Think about this, guys. Today, that principle I learned in 7th grade, I still apply in my business. My business, where I'm spending over $1 million on advertising, I still use that principle I learned in 7th grade, that which he said. Well, the next day I came up with a game plan. I said, you know what? I'm going to sell something cheaper. Can you guess what I decided to sell? Are you serious? There's a clue right in front of you. Swedish fish. You guys are bright. Let's give you a hand to these bright people. So I decided to sell Swedish fish. I went back to the gut truck, came back with a box of Swedish fish, went to recess, went to school, and recess bell went, and I almost did it because I was so scared. I was so scared of failure. But I went out there and said, hey, buy a Swedish fish for 1 penny. And those same kids that came up the day before were buying them for 15 cents and 25 cents. And the next day, when those kids went home, they came back with 50 cents and $1. Why? They went and stole it from their parents. It was a great business plan. And pretty soon, I was making $10 to $15 a day. And within weeks, I was playing Super Mario Brothers. But, guys, I learned a very valuable lesson that day. Demographics and product offerings. The other thing I learned is don't give up. Those were the 3 things I learned. Today, I advertised last year. I spent $1 million on Facebook advertising. I didn't spend a dime on Snapchat. Why? Why? It's not my demographics. And why do I know that? When did I learn? Who said that? I didn't hear it. Because go ahead, come on.
Why you did do Snapchat?
Yeah, why don't I use Snapchat? That's perfect, because I'm a boomer. Because my demographics are boomers like me. They're 45 plus. And I can sell all day long to Snapchat to non-boomers, you guys, and they won't buy a sleep appliance. Just like you got the kids in middle school would not buy a Snickers. But on the same hand, I can advertise to boomers like myself, on Facebook. And just like when I sold those Swedish fish, I can sell those all day long. So I learned these business principles starting in 7th grade, high school, and college, and now. So I'm going to go back to that question here. Let's go back to it. That's my cue to move on. Did you guys figure that out? Another one? Well, we're way behind. Go ahead. One more. So, who wants to own a business? Once again, everyone put your hand up. So now, here's the question. Who's going to start today or tomorrow planning your business so you can start this business cycle? Come on, let's raise your hand. I need some commitments. Hey, did you write these down, Mr. Stillman? There was a few hands, huh? They don't pass the class unless they start their business by the end of the quarter, right? So good, guys. And I promise you, just like Kaylee, if you start your business today, you'll be further ahead and closer to being a successful business person. You will. Now, the reason why I implore people to start their business today, and you got to hear me out. I don't want to offend the teachers here because there is some apple at the end of this story, is because college really doesn't teach you how to do business. It doesn't teach you how to do business at all. When you go out and start your business, and when you go out and you're working for someone, you're going to say, hey, I didn't learn this in college, and you're going to have to relearn it. So that's why I tell you to start today. But at the same time, college is vital. College is vital. All my buddies argue with me in business. Oh, it was a waste of time going to business school. I could learn this all myself. But you learn something very vital here. As you go to school, you learn the skill of learning how to do. And this skill of learning how to do will benefit you the rest of your life. Because if you don't know how to learn how to do, business changes every day. How are you going to learn how to do business? And that's the skill that the SUU gave me, was learn how to do and learn how to learn. I'll give you an example. When I was right here at SUU, not here, it was the old business department. It was over there. I was there we go. I was the biggest drug dealer of SUU. Mary didn't know this, did you? I was the biggest drug dealer, and I had this huge clientele, and they were buying drugs from me every day. And the drug that I was peddling was carbamide peroxide. Does anyone know what carbamide peroxide is? Who here's a druggie that uses carbamide peroxide? Raise your hand. It's got to be someone's drug of choice. Brown, you got to tell me you're using carbamide peroxide. Does anyone know what carbamide peroxide is? Hydrogen peroxide? Well, what's it used in? No one knows. Okay, hit that thing again. I thought someone would use it. It's teeth whitening. When I was in college, teeth whitening, you couldn't go down to Walmart and buy it. You had to go to the grocery store, or you couldn't go to Walmart and buy it, or the grocery store. You had to go to your dentist. And they would charge literally $500 to $800 for an upper and lower bleach tray and 2 syringes of bleach, carbamide peroxide. And I had this buddy, Cade Lewis, who's from Monticello. Is anyone here from Monticello? No one here is from Monticello. Well, he was from Monticello, and he went and paid $500 from his dentist for 2 syringes and an upper and lower tray. And he came to me when he ran out, and he said, look, my dentist wants $50 for a tube of syringe of teeth whitening. How about I get it from you? I know your dad's a dentist. Just go steal it from him. I said, Kate, that's illegal. It's a controlled substance. I can't do that. It has to be administered by a dentist. He says, no. Just go steal it from him, bring it back to me, and I'll give you $80. Ronnie, do you remember Kate? Well, I'll get back to that. Kate, I went to college with Ronnie. And so I went to my dad's office, and he told me he'd give me $20 a tube. So I went to my dad's office, and he had the supply closet. And in the supply closet, you'll have like gloves, masks, toothbrushes, all these dental supplies. And I was fumbling through all this, and I found in the corner this box of opalescence. And that was teeth whitening. And I opened it up, and there were 4 tubes. So I took that out and put it in my pocket. And I was nervous. I was doing something illegal. And I walked out, and I went to my car. And do you think I called Cade? No. You know why? Because I'm a boomer. We didn't have cell phones back then. So I drove to my house. So I drove to my house, and I called Cade. I said, Cade, I got your stuff. And he goes, oh, really? And I said, yeah. And he says, come down to my house. And I go, I do not want your roommates to see this. So I drove down to his house, and I wrapped up this box of teeth whitening in my pocket, and I went to him. And I said, here. And he gave me $80. It was like discreet. And I handed him this bag of teeth whitening, and he used it. Well, if you knew Cade, did you know Cade? Cade had the widest smile of anyone on campus. And so every time he smiled, the girls wanted to be with him. And every time he smiled, all the guys wanted to be with him. Seriously. This guy right here would want to be with him. The guy that's running a business. But every time he smiled, he did a sale for me. And pretty soon, I was selling carbon monoxide. Think about this. Brilliant business idea. I was selling it for $20, and how much was I buying it for? $0. I mean, that was great. I was making money hand over fist. And I thought that was pretty exciting. Well, I graduated from SUU, got my degree. I think we're on the next one. No, go back. So I got my degree from SU, and I went down and started working for Honeywell. It's a big corporation. A lot of people don't hear of them, but they're one of the largest companies in the world. And I started working for them, and I was going to go down to Thunderbird to get my MIM. And after about a few months of working from them, I realized I don't want to be here. I don't want to work for a big corporation. And so it became my passion. Every night I'd go home and come up with these business plans. And I'd try this business plan and that business plan and come up with all these different ideas. And everything came back to teeth whitening. It was illegal. How am I going to do teeth whitening? Well, I started focusing on teeth whitening and coming up with developing that business plan more. And the first thing I thought to myself, if I want to sell teeth whitening, I need a business license. Wait, how do you do that? How do you get a business license? College didn't teach me how to get a business license. What college taught me was how to learn how to do or learn how to get a business license. So I set out and learned how to get a business license. The next thing I learned, I went in and said, you know what, I want to start accepting Visa, MasterCard. How do I do that? Once again, wait, college didn't teach me how to do that. But what college taught me to do was learn how to do it. And once again, I set out and learned how to do that. And the third thing I said, well, I want to start selling this stuff. I got to get a sales tax license. Does anyone here know how to get a sales tax license? No, college didn't teach me that either. But once again, I said to myself, I know how to do this. I can learn how to do this. That's what college taught me. And day in and day out, I'm learning and learning and learning. And because I developed that skill when I was in college like you guys, I've learned how to learn. And it's vital. And if you pair that with doing, what we talked about earlier, with learning how to do, you guys are going to be extremely successful. Business changes every day. Every time I go to Facebook and change my ad, it changes. I have to learn every day how to do it. And I'm very thankful for college for doing that. So I promise you guys, stay in college, but at the same time, start a business, right? So go ahead, babe. So the next thing is, I went to my father and said, I got this idea. And he said, what is it? And I said, teeth whitening. I want to sell teeth whitening. He said, son, no. You stay in college. I said, no, I want to do teeth whitening. Once again, I got this, no. You stay in college. And I said, okay, Dad, please entertain me. And he said, okay. And he says, son, it cost me more than $100 to make this stuff. Because I told him, look, I want to sell it for $100 instead of $500 like you. And part of that package, I was going to give him 2 syringes of bleach and 2 trays. And he said, son, that costs more than $100 for me. And I go, Dad, entertain me. So we got in his car and we drove down to the office before the internet, and we pulled out his catalog and we flipped to the page of teeth whitening. And there it was, 1 tube of teeth whitening. It was like $1.50 I think it was. So if I had 2 of them, that'd be $3, right? And then we flipped to the pages to soft EVA. That's what's used to make bleach trays. And it cost like $1 a piece, and there was 2 of them. So the total cost was $5. I said, Dad, I had to tell you, but that's 95% profit. That's huge. He said, son, you stay in school. Do not leave school. And I said, Dad, entertain me. And he says, no, son, it's illegal. It's a controlled substance. I go, please help me out, Dad. See, my dad was a very influential dentist. He was the president of the Utah Dental Association. He was a delegate for the ADA, so he flew back to Chicago every quarter and helped delegate. Very important position. And he said, look, I'll call the lawyer up, the Utah Dental Association, and ask him. So he called him and said, look, is it legal to sell teeth whitening over the counter? And the lawyer said, I don't know. No one's ever asked that question. Everyone assumes it's a controlled substance, but I don't know. So he promised my dad he'd look at the state laws and the federal laws and get back to him. And a couple of weeks later, he got back to my dad. And to the dismay of my dad, he said, it's not legal. It's not illegal. And my dad called me all dismayed and said, look, son, it's legal. I said, Dad, perfect. This is the perfect business model I've been waiting for. I'm all excited. And guess what he said? No, no, no. You stay in school. So I came up with this great business plan. When he was on a vacation for 3 weeks, I was going to start this business. And I literally did. I didn't ask him for a penny. I maxed out all my credit cards. I quit my job at Honeywell. I decided not to go to school at the Thunderbird. And I went down there and started selling stuff at Arizona Mills in the kiosk. That's a kiosk right there. That's me. This is when I was your age. And you can see there's a couple people there taking an impression. That's where I started. But think about this. As I was there, dentists would come up and they'd say, hey, Ryan, this is so illegal. This is so immoral. What are you doing? The dentist would get so mad about twice. Am I exaggerating? What did they do to you, Aaron? They grabbed the stuff off this cart right here and took it and threw it off our cart. Why were they mad? Because what they were selling for $500, we were selling for $100. 7 different dental boards from Texas to New York to Utah to Mississippi to Minnesota. I went before all of them. They said, Ryan, you are practicing dentistry without a license, and if you get prosecuted for that, that's 3 years, up to 3 years in jail, and $200,000 fine. Do you want to deal with that? How many people are telling me no? The person I trust a lot and respect, my dad, and all these other people I could care less, were telling me no. What would have happened had I listened to them? I'd probably still be down at Honeywell hating my life. But, guys, I want to tell you something. In life and in business, as you sit back and listen to other people, you might come to the conclusion that you're right. You have to learn to trust yourself. You have to learn to trust your instincts. And as you do that, you can overcome many things. There's a lot of naysayers out there, right? Yo, you can't do that, nay this, nay that. But as you learn to trust yourself, that's powerful. That's power. Confidence and trust is power. So I really challenge you guys to do that. So nextly, ideas. Have you guys ever been with a friend or yourself and you see this great product, right? Or you hear this great idea and you say, I thought of that 2 years ago. Has anyone gone through that? Let's just raise your hands. I can't see the nod. Yeah, it happens all the time. It happens to me all the time. I say, gosh, I had that idea many years ago. Why didn't I do it? Well, let me tell you something, guys. An idea is a dime a dozen. Idea is a dime a dozen. They're really easy to come about. Think about it. It's the easiest part of starting a business, idea. You're running down. You're doing a jog. You're working up a sweat. You're not really thinking about anything, and boom, you got an idea, right? How long did that take you? Seconds, right? Easiest part of doing a business. You know, you're going down in a shopping cart, and boom, you got an idea. Seconds, you got an idea. That's the easiest part of doing a business. I have people come to me weekly and say, hey, I got this great product, I got this great idea, and I'm forecasting to make $1 million. Whoa, you forecast to make $1 million? I'll literally ask him, I'll say, okay, you got this idea, you got this forecast of making $1 million, how are you going to implement this? And I'd say 99% of the people say, I have no clue how I'm going to implement this. Well, do you want me to do it for you? Really, that's what happens. Think about this. So, when you think of Steve Jobs, not Steve Jobs, did I say that right? Steve Jobs. What do you guys think of? Apple. What products do you think of that Steve Jobs did with Apple? What did he start in? Think about it. You might be too young. What is it? iPod. Before the iPod. Mac, see? You're too young. It's the Mac, the personal computer. A lot of people think Steve Jobs came up with the personal computer. Farthest from the truth. I was on a Texas TI, Texas Instrument computer on a cassette tape when I was in elementary school, long before the Mac came out. IBM came out with it long before that. But why does he get so much credit for it? Because he implemented it better. Next person. Elon Musk. Who knows him? Okay, what does he do?
A lot of things now.
What's he known for?
Biggest is a car company.
Car company. What type of car company?
Electric.
Electric car company. Literally, people think Elon Musk came up with a car company. False. When I was about your age or even younger, we had do you know Mrs. Pearson? The Chevy Bolt. Do you remember the Chevy Bolt? It was this ugly car, electrical car. It worked great. And that was like in the 80s. But why does he get credit for it? Because he implements it better. And it goes back to what I talked about earlier. You need to start today implementing. And the sooner you start implementing, and you compile that with learning how to do, you will be successful. And you might end up being the next Steve Jobs. You might end up being the next Elon Musk that implemented it better than anyone else, right? But implement. Take that idea and do something with it. Because ideas are a dime a dozen. Effort and implementation is where it's at. So every day, I have problems. If you're in business, you'll have problems. Just today, someone called me and said, hey, we ran out of leads. Earlier, they called and said, hey, I gave this person a task to do and they didn't. What did I do? These are simple problems. But as you face these problems or lemons and come up with solutions and make lemonade, that's what a true business person is. Making lemonade out of lemons. And some of the best decisions and best ideas I've ever came up from was out of necessity. When I was down and out, thought I was going to lose my whole business, and I wasn't going to be able to pay for anything for my kids, that's when I succeeded the most. I made lemonade out of lemons. It just happened in March, this last year. I had turned my business around. I was very successful, making a lot of money. And guess what happened? What? Corona. Let's think. Let me tell a story and let's see if you're right. I was watching the NBA. I love the Utah Jazz. I was watching the Utah Jazz play the Oklahoma Thunder. Rudy Gobert was in the middle of the court. And the ref was there with the ball, ready to do a jump ball. And out of the corner came someone running on the court, waving his hand, saying, stop the game. And the refs pointed to the corners. Rudy Gobert went to his corner. The other guy went to their corner. And I thought, was there a terrorist attack? It was eerie. My hair stood up on my arms. And every 5 minutes, tell me if this would really calm you down. The public announcer came out and said, you are safe, everything's okay. Does that make you feel calm? And every 5 minutes kept on saying that, and I thought, well, if I wasn't calm, now I'm definitely not calm. And after 30 minutes, they shut down that game. And that's what was on the billboard. And not only did they shut down that game, they shut down the NBA. Not only did they do that, they shut down my business. Why? Because the government came out with what's called a COVID-19 update. And they said, look, all non-essential procedures and appointments, you can't do anymore. Let me put that in layman terms. They said, if you're a dentist, you cannot open your doors. You cannot do dentistry. Did that happen? Did your dad not work for a couple months? Her dad didn't work for a couple months. Her dad's a dentist. So overnight, my business plan was this. We worked with medical doctors. They do a sleep study. After they get done with the sleep study, they write a prescription to us for a sleep appliance. We then have 240 dentists nationwide that will fit these sleep appliances with our patients. So for instance, we have a patient in New York. We send them to that dentist in New York. They take an impression of that patient, mail it back to us, and make a sleep appliance. We mail it back to the dentist, and the dentist fits them. Well, overnight, we could not fit sleep appliances. And because we couldn't fit sleep appliances, we could not bill medical insurance. Overnight, my business was done. And do you think I could sleep that night? No. The next day, I have 50 full-time employees and probably 20 or 30 subcontractors work for me. That's a huge responsibility on a person. They're not just employees. Those are mothers that provide or fathers that provide for their children. It's a huge responsibility. So let's open this up. How can I overcome this? I need to fit patients with sleep appliances, but dentists can't work. How can I fix this? Any solutions? Taking an impression themselves. That's the one thing I thought of myself. Hey, let's have the patient take an impression themselves. I can't do that because it has to be fitted by a dentist for me to bill their medical insurance. I thought of that. Next. Good idea, though. See, she's thinking out of the box. This is kind of what I came up with. Hardly nothing. I'm going to go and tell these 50 employees that I have nothing and go home and go file for unemployment. They probably would have been happy about that then, but another story. Well, I came up with a solution. I said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do what she said. What was your name? Savannah. I got a daughter named Savannah. I'm going to go out and create an impression kit, very similar to this one up here. And in there, I'll have all the needed material to take an upper and lower impression and a bite registry. And you mix these two together and you bite into it. Instead of mailing this to the dentist, I'm going to mail this to the patient directly. Now, the patient's going to take their impression, but that's illegal. So I said, okay, I got this software development company. I will go out and create a telehealth, which allows that patient to see our dentist, and that dentist will help them take the impression. Now I suffice that law, but it has to be taken by a dentist. So what I went out there is I went out there and worked 80 to 90 hours a week. You didn't want to be around me. I was a jerk. Was I a jerk, honey? My kid's like, you get short. When you work that much, you really get short. When you don't sleep that much, you get short. But I went out there and typed up like 80-page design document and went to my software development company and said, hey, I need you to make a telehealth software and it has to be done in a month. And they said, no, it's going to take 3 months. I go, people are going to be starving if you don't have this done in a month. They said, okay, we'll do it in a month and a half. Well, at the same time, there we go. There were a lot of dentists who were not working at this time, and we went to dentists here in Cedar City and said, hey, you're not working. Why don't you come work for us while you're not working, and we'll pay you by the hour to see these patients. And within a month and a half, we had the software done. And we'd have 5 dental assistants that see the patients and funnel them to the dentist, and the dentist would see them and help them take their impression and fit them with the sleep appliance. And what we used to pay the dentists in New York $200 for, now that same dentist was seeing 10 to 12 patients an hour. And so we were paying this dentist in New York $200 to do that, and now it was costing us like $40 through this new process. Why? Because we streamlined it. So if it was costing us $20 before, and now it costs us $40, what am I saving? Come on. Huh? Cost me did I say 20? Sorry. What am I? Boomer. It cost us $200 before for the dentist in New York, and now it's costing us $40, so now we're saving $160. That same dentist is seeing 10 to 12 patients an hour. Is he seeing a lot of patients? A lot. And the dentist didn't think he could do it, but now he's kind of shocked. So he's seeing 10 patients an hour, and I'm saving $160 per patient. What am I saving an hour per dentist? $1,600 an hour. And this all derived from a moment where I thought my business was done for. What did I do? I took lemons and made lemonade. And every day in my business, that's what I do. I take lemons and make lemonade. And that's what you'll do. You'll be a lemonade maker. So someone asks you, what do you want to do? Hey, I want to sell lemonade. Let's see, what time do we end here?
You got 10 minutes.
Is that what the questions? I can wrap it up right here. We'll skip this. You want to go, babe? Oh, we're going to give you a 5 minutes question. I'll go through this. Last question. Who here wants to be the next Steve Jobs or Elon Musk? Anyone? You do? Why do you want to be them?
They're just successful.
They're successful, right. Everyone knows them as hugely successful people. But I want to tell you, you are demented. She is demented. If you ever read Elon Musk's biography, he works 80 to 100 hours every week. He sleeps on his factory floor. What has he given up to do that? A life. Family life, hobbies, everything else. In fact, when he wants to spend time with his kids, he takes his kids on his private jet, and instead of going to Disneyland, they go to a factory in China, and they tour this factory. Does that sound fun? So he has no life. Why does he do that? Because he wants to be known as the best business person out there. He's feeding his ego. He is definitely feeding his ego. That's the only reason. Can he spend the money he's earned? No, he's earned so much. There's no matter how much he spends, he can't spend enough. He is feeding his ego. And I was the same way. When I was younger, I'd work all these hours. And I'd miss all my kids' soccer games. I wasn't going canyoneering with them. I wasn't going boating. I wasn't going riding four-wheelers. I wasn't doing a lot of stuff because I was feeding my ego. And I remember one game, my two daughters were on the same soccer team. They're a highly competitive soccer team. And they had not lost a game in 2 years. And I probably hadn't been a game in 2 years. But I found time in the last game of the season of the Utah Summer Games, the gold medal round. And they were playing for the gold medal, and they were up 8-0. And I had one girl that was extremely good, and I had one girl that was extremely bad, right? And the girl that was extremely good played the whole time. And about 20 minutes left in the game, we were up 8-0. Every game went like that. We destroyed teams. Up 8-0. And the coach finally calls my daughter off, that was good, and said, come sit down, Savannah, have a 5-minute break, we'll put you back in. Well, my daughter noticed something that I hadn't noticed. She came out and saw, this is not my daughter, but she came out and saw my dejected daughter on the sideline, completely humiliated and dejected. And when the coach said, Savannah, come back in, she did something more than I did. She went to the coach and said, Coach, sorry, I get a little emotional when I talk about my family. Coach, I played the whole game. How about letting my sister play? We're up 8-0. And guess what that coach said? Savannah, sit down. You or your sister aren't playing. Was it the coach's fault? Yes. Was it my fault? Yes. From that day forward, I said to myself, I'm not feeding my ego anymore. No more egos. And that's when I went and started coaching. And I ended up coaching 3 soccer teams. And I did scouts. And I go canyoneering with my kids. Because that's what's important. So when you go home today, right? When you go home and start your goals, leave the ego out of your goals. And think about what really matters to you. You don't need to be the best business person. Guys, I started my business right now when I started selling Swedish fish, right here, when I was in 7th grade. And I'm challenging every one of you to go out and start your business tomorrow or today. And when you get done, you'll be further along. And maybe you will have a Swedish fish moment. And thanks for your time, guys. They just want to leave. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
This is like a legal question, but are all your businesses under one LLC? Like you do all 3 under one LLC?
On this one I do, but I have... So his question was, this is a legal question, is all of my businesses under one LLC? So I have different companies. Like right now, American Sleep Dentistry is under one LLC. And I own it under my Domestic Asset Protection Trust. So it's protected through 2 layers. But now I'm starting a new company called iSmile Direct, and I'm setting that in a different LLC. So yeah. Any other questions?
So you've said that you've had lots of successes and failures.
Yep.
Just for you, what tips you off that it's about time to stop?
You know, that's probably the hardest question. The hardest thing to do as an entrepreneur is put all this time, effort, and money and stop a business. And I've done that. I've done that. In fact, one time I about lost my house over a business. And it was really hard. I mean, I had sunk $5 to $6 million in this business. I owed probably another 5. They were coming around for my house, and I had to shut it down because it obviously wasn't going to work. That's hard. It's really hard because your heart and passion's in it. Anything else? All right.
So Ryan, thank you so much for being here. But the advice and stories that we've heard, I think, are going to stick with us a long time. I'm never going to look at Swedish fish the same way. Just a couple of things that come to mind. College doesn't teach you how to run a business. It teaches you how to learn how to run a business. That's nothing I've heard before. That's very well stated. Trust yourself. In the face of everybody telling you not to do the teeth whitening, and then most of all, just do it. Exceptional advice. We are so grateful that you take the time to visit us. We'd like to present you with the Cedar Award, and it's made from cedar wood, and we hope you'll stay in Cedar City.
First time I earned an award.
Hey, thanks so much
Thank
for
you.
being here.